this is my cousin's son. Well, then Joffrey is one of his young. He's very gentle. He's one of the very, very best birders in the world. Okay?
Not me.
Sometimes his friend really well done. Joffrey. He was also the top variety. So yeah, so he's a very yeah, well they're both so anyway, he's expensive. No, it's him. It's my Joffrey's dad is Irish. Anyways, we have five big public events. Okay. Yep. And yeah, we also do family programs. Yeah. And no, I'm really with our friends. Yes, and I'm a staying outdoors, hopping on the rocks, like right now we got this week. Okay, so one in the park. And then there's money that they get from federal government. Bringing money. So over $100,000 into the parks funded over 3 years. But it goes well. The federal government money. And we also have every month, yeah. It's usually the last Saturday of the month, and if you're online, yes. If there's changes, I will email them to you. Otherwise, you have to go to our website and check. Yeah. So you have to that's a Saturday. They're busy on Saturday. Yeah, he's got a younger brother. He's also one's also offered up. So there's our volunteer restoration hours. Large number of children.
Lose quorum. Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. We have this is our third meeting tonight. This is our regular meeting of Municipal Council, just in case you're wondering where we're at on the agenda. And we do have an agenda, but before we get to that, although it's written up on our agenda, sometimes I read it from time to time, and that is, we acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Coast and Straits Salish peoples. Specifically, we recognize the Lekwungen-speaking people, known today as the Songhees and Esquimalt nations, and that their historic connection to these lands continue to this day. Also advise you that we have live video that streams to people at home and also is archived to be viewed at any time. So you should know that when you, if and when you come to the microphone. And we also, when you do come to the microphone, we ask you to fill out the little form there, just so we get the correct spelling of your name and the community in which you live. So, what I'm going to suggest we do, members of council, is we amend the order of the agenda to reflect the fact that at 6 o'clock tonight we held 3 public meetings, and it may be worth dealing with those bylaws now and the associated, not associated bylaws, but that whole bylaws section. So I'm going to suggest we move items 24 to 31 for consideration up to the beginning. We start with those. And I'm going to suggest we strike item 19. Item 19 is a request by the University of Victoria for a grant. If that were to come before us, I would recuse myself because I am employed part-time as a sessional lecturer at the University of Victoria, which would mean that we wouldn't have quorum if I recused myself. We unfortunately have 3 missing counselors, one in Mexico, one in Africa, and one in Hawaii. So that's why we're depleted ranks, and it usually happens this time of the year when we have the March break set in. With those changes, could I please have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you very much. Discussion. Yes, go ahead, please.
I'd like to propose an amendment to also strike 17 as I am in conflict of interest. I am a volunteer with the Oak Bay Volunteer Services Society.
Okay. Yeah. It's that's a little closer to the line. Certainly, if you were a director there, you clearly would. But I don't know. I think for now, let's just strike it, and the staff will bring both of those back. Could you just tell us what number that is again, please?
17, please.
17? Okay. Yes. All right. So with that additional, strike 19, 17, and then change the agenda item. That is the that's the motion. Discussion on that motion. All in favor? Opposed? None opposed. All right. So we have before us the third reading of bylaw 4675 relating to 1605 York Place. That is the public hearing bylaw that we held earlier this evening. It's up before us for third reading, and typically we have third reading and final reading together. But Ms. Jones, could you just remind us why we'll have, and it's as much for the audience and the people who are affected by this, why we separate and we're not going to do the final bylaw tonight, please?
Your Worship, I believe Ms. Jensen can follow up on that more detailed if it's required, but there are a few items that still need to be addressed before final is given.
Okay. Ms. Jensen, please.
Yes, Your Worship, that is correct. As contingent upon the rezoning, there are a number of conditions that have to be met before council will consider it for adoption.
And once those conditions are met, it will come back for final adoption.
That's correct.
All right. Thank you very much. So if I could have a motion.
Move third reading.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? None opposed. We go to item number 26, which is the third reading of the accompanying bylaw to do with the heritage designation of that same address. For the bylaw is 4682. Again, there are some conditions that prevent us from a final reading tonight. Again, Ms. Jensen, correct?
That is correct. This would be one of those conditions contingent upon the rezoning.
Thank you very much. So,
Move third reading
Second.
of 4682.
okay, moved and seconded. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Then the third, item 27, which again was the third item that we had a public hearing on. This one we can move third and final reading should council desire. That's 4681, is a general amendment section.
Move third reading of 4681
And final reading?
and final reading.
We
Second.
can do that all at once, right? This one,
Your worship on this one, actually.
this one you can't, you have to separate them. Yeah, I thought so. Okay.
We'll never
Nice-
get it.
Nice try to be efficient.
Okay.
So it's a
Move third
moved and
reading.
seconded for third reading. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? None opposed. And now final reading, which used to
Move
be called
final
adoption.
reading.
Second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Thank you. We now have a series of bylaws which have been before us for first, second, and third reading, and they are for final adoption tonight, if council so wishes. The first one is bylaw 4671 relating to election signs, and that's item 28 on the agenda.
Move final adoption of bylaw 4671, sign bylaw amendment.
Thank you.
Second.
Discussion. Yes, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Chair. And I apologize for missing the meeting, the council meeting last time. It may have been discussed then, I'm not sure, but I will not be able to support the election sign at final adoption. I am concerned about item 12, subsection 3, having to do with election signs beside residential property. I don't agree with the way the bylaw is stated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That, in fact, was discussed last time, and there had been some legal advice given on that I was certainly concerned that if it ran contrary to any legal norms or the Charter of Rights, but we were assured that it doesn't, and other communities have imposed similar restrictions. So, but I appreciate your view on that. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Zelka opposed. It passes. Thank you very much. For final adoption, 4683 relating to sewer charges.
I'll move for final adoption bylaw number 4683, public sewer bylaw.
And second?
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Thank you. Bylaw 4684 relating to driveway access.
I'll move final adoption bylaw 4684, driveway access bylaw.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Thank you. And bylaw 4685.
Move bylaw 4685, water rate bylaw.
And second?
Okay, moved and seconded. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Thank you very much. That takes us to all the agenda items which we've moved forward, and we wouldn't have our feelings hurt if those people who are involved in those bylaws wish to leave. We wouldn't take that as a rebuke. Okay. Particularly those who have Netflix, I guess. All right. We now return to item number 1, which is to do with council minutes of February 27th, please.
I'll move approval.
Moved,
Second.
Seconded. Approved.
And I have
Discussion? Yes, go ahead, please.
I was wondering if under item number 9 that it should not say that Mayor Jensen and Councillor Ney recused themselves. I think that was for the UVic item.
I didn't catch that. Number 9. All right. If we can,
Your worship, that's correct. We'll make
I'm
that.
sorry, I meant to tell you
No,
before. I'm
that's
sorry.
great. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for catching that. So would that'll just be corrected in these minutes then? All right. That's a technical correction. Thank you very much for catching that, Councillor. And it's moved and seconded. Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Thank you very much. My remarks. As I had mentioned, we have 3 councillors absent, unfortunately. But I should also mention that we have budget estimates meeting coming up this week. It's the first one, and it's a joint committee with the Parks, Recreation, and Culture Commission where we review their budget. That's on March 15th, and then we have the 2 main events when I hope we'll have all hands on deck, so to speak. That's April 12th and 19th, and the public, of course, is welcome to join us as we review the budgets and the resulting taxation. So I have 2 other short announcements over here. One is, you may recall that we had that beautiful quilt came from the CRD. Well, there is now a beautiful quilt booklet, which we'll put on display with the quilt itself, because it sets out what all of the other quilts mean, and the significance of each one, like one's from a chosen Langford, one a few, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, it sets out our beautiful quilt that was done by Ms. Carswell Bland, and she talks a little bit about what motivated her to make that absolutely beautiful quilt. And I think we're in the process of finding a particularly beautiful spot for it, which we've found. So there you go. So we'll place this booklet, and I think if anyone wants copies, I'm sure they have them at the CRD, which is where I had mine. The next item of my remarks is to recognize and congratulate a renowned artist, Patricia Martin Bates. We had a ceremony here with respect to giving out and giving the inaugural Acorn Award for exceptional contribution to the arts, and Ms. Martin Bates was selected. We had the ceremony here, wonderfully organized by our Arts Laureate, Barbara Adams, and with the support of her Public Arts Committee. We had several artists in their own right attending, and we had a speech or a little review of Martin Bates done by Robert Amos, who made that beautiful piano that you've probably walked in there. The one it's part of our, I think, 2 summers ago, painted piano program. So it was a wonderful event and a very deserving recipient of that first Acorn Award. And I congratulate her, and I thank the organizers. So, all right, those are my remarks. We have public participation now. That's a 20-minute item that we set aside, and we ask people to come forward and speak. What we ask them to do is, as I mentioned before, fill out the little form there with their name, so we know how to spell it, and with also with the community that they're from, and also state your name before you start speaking. That way people at home will know who you are. And keep your remarks to 3 minutes, please, according to the bylaw. Once you've introduced yourself and I say welcome, I will hit the button on here. It's a 3-minute button. And when it has the dulcet iPhone tune playing at the end, I think it's called Radar, then please just finish whatever thought you're on. Don't start a new one. And then you can wrap up at that point. All righty? So we welcome our first speaker. Just before you do, Ms. Halverson, we're not going to deal with your item tonight. Yes, I'm aware. Oh, I wasn't sure you heard that. Okay, but we will in the fullness of time. It's just that we wouldn't have quorum because of our recusal. So,
thank you. I'm not that tall.
Your name, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Eric Daly, and I am a neighbor from Saanich.
Welcome.
Thank you. We understand why your portion of Cadbury Bay Beach is an orphan. You can't see the beach from Oak Bay, and the only public access is by land via Saanich. Even the residents on the bluff by the Uplands gate look over the wrecks. They don't look down on them. However, we in Cadbury Bay and 10 Mile Point, we see them every day. In addition to the obvious pollution and safety concerns, such as kids playing in the wrecks, there's evidence of associated beach fires. In April of 2014, the burning hull of a houseboat drifted ashore, and some trees on adjacent properties started to burn. Firefighters had to make their way through the backyards on the bluff to put out the fire. Had it been a fiberglass hull, the bluff would have been ablaze and the homes destroyed. And if you've ever seen a 10-meter fiberglass boat on fire, it's scary. In this regard, we note our disappointment with our mutual MLA, who, by the way, sends his regrets not being able to be present this evening, and with the provincial government for not providing the funds and wherewithal to Oak Bay to remove the wrecks. They did, however, provide funds to Saanich for rectification of this on the Saanich portion. We're not here to point fingers at whose jurisdiction it is and where one stops and one ends. And we fully acknowledge that the vessels beached on the shore of Cadbury Bay below the surveyed property lines, they're technically not within the district of Oak Bay. With that said, we look to Oak Bay to exercise some social and political responsibility and obligation to take action with respect to correcting the situation. And for your consideration, we have several possibilities. Just like at Willows, add your portion of the Cadbury Bay Beach to Clause 18.1 of Bylaw 3881, and in doing so, extend your present provincial water lease to cover that portion of the Oak Bay frontage in Cadbury Bay in order to extend your jurisdiction over the beach. Fully endorse and support and participate in the planned removal and cleanup of the initiative scheduled for May 13th, 2017, and actively participate in the acquisition of funding from the provincial government. And what do we want? We want Oak Bay action on the three above, and we want you to join us on the 13th of May. We want you to put on your rubber boots and grab a shovel. And when the application goes to the CRD cleanup fund for this initiative, please give it your full support. And in closing, I want to thank you for the anticipated support of your staff working with our groups to bring about a long-lasting solution to this problem on the beach.
Thank you, Mr. Daly.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor and Council, my name is Jerry Donaldson. I'm a Saanich resident.
We'll just wait for you to fill that little form out there and write your name.
This form?
Yeah, the one
Yeah,
right there.
I've done that.
You've already done that?
I've done that already, yes.
Okay, well, we need to move that up.
Thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Donaldson.
I bring greetings from Cadbury Bay. I just want to add a couple of remarks to what my friend was saying. I note in the opening remarks the acknowledgement that this site is on traditional territory of the ancestor people of the Songhees people, and that reminded me that the site where the wrecks are is a village site of those ancestral people. So totally apart from everything else, it's a very impolite and ugly mess that has been left there at a beach where people lived since time immemorial without creating anywhere near the type of mess that we are capable of producing. I differ with my friend on the issue of jurisdiction. I note that on Willows, for example, there is jurisdiction has been exercised with respect to dogs off leash in the intertidal zone. And I haven't checked your bylaws, but there's probably a bylaw having to do with littering as well. So although the thrust of what I'm saying right now doesn't have anything to do with legislative jurisdiction, I think it's important to recognize that the municipality does exercise jurisdiction in the intertidal zone on certain issues. And if I'm wrong about that, perhaps I'll ask if it's okay for me to walk my dog on Willows in the summer. The issue that I'm most serious about is that in the discussion of wrecked boats, the issue of boats still floating is almost always conflated with the issue of boats that are on the beach, boats which qualify as wreck under the Canada Shipping Act. And I think that in every discussion having to do with this matter, a distinction need always be drawn between the very thorny matter of deciding what to do about boats that are still floating but are technically not in distress. Once a boat is in distress, the Canada Shipping Act kicks in. At that point, anyone can follow the procedure that's set out in the Canada Shipping Act and take possession of that wreck and deal with it appropriately. The system is clearly, these laws go back hundreds and hundreds of years, as your worship is no doubt aware, having to do with what's to be done with things that wash ashore. Really, the Canada Shipping Act, the relevant sections seem to address things that are worth something when they come ashore. Anybody can take it and then claim a salvage fee against the owner, report it to the receiver of wrecks, a search is mounted for the owner, and if the owner's not found, then the boat can be, the wreck can be transferred to whoever is making a claim against it. The problem, of course, is that in this case, none of these boats are worth anything. They're all junk. So what my wish is that in every discussion we not lose sight of that. It is just a matter of money. Who is willing to come, spend the money, chase the matter through the receiver of rec, as Mr. Rowe has volunteered to do with us on this project.
Thank you.
And finish up that way.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Donaldson. Next speaker, please. All right, seeing no one else, thank you very much to those two speakers. Really appreciate it. And I know the date of the 13th of May was mentioned as a cleanup date, and I appreciate that our community association is looking to get active. And I've already seen one notice, and I know our staff are working with I've been in touch with the community association to see how, excuse me, we might be able to help. I also note that in all of the 5 years that I've been mayor, every conference at the UBCM, I have met with the minister, usually the Minister of Forest Lands and Natural Resources, to urge him to take action. And in fact, last year when UBCM, the Union of British Columbia Municipalities, were here, I think all of us virtually, I have a note here with the councillors met with Todd Stone, the Minister of Transportation, and again urged him to take action. So and I know both of our association, the Vancouver Island Coastal Communities and the Union of British Columbia Municipalities, UBCM, have urged the province to take action. So we're certainly happy to hear that Mr. Rowe for the Veins of Life is gathering a group that hopefully will clean up this. So we have not been idle in this, and we'll continue to monitor the situation. And in fact, very recently in December of last year, there was a motion at the CRD where we will start looking at this as a region. Because it's important to realize that that by pushing the problem from out of one area, you just end up in another area. So thank you very much to the two speakers, and I appreciate what the Community Association, and I see the president is here, Chris Nichols here, will be doing along these lines. So I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. We move on to item number 4. I'm just going to wake up my iPad here, so just bear with me. So I'll actually get the substance of it. So the next number of items have to do with applications for grant monies that we have, that we provide and we decide on in April. We have a number of them. We've pulled 2 of them off because we wouldn't have a quorum, but we have the other items. I think every one of these people who've made these grant applications have been advised about tonight. What I'm going to ask each in turn as we walk through is we'll give you 3 minutes to speak to your particular item, and following that, I'm going to suggest to council, because there's only 4 of us, if there is an item where the 4 of us would say no, we should do that tonight, so not to have any lingering expectations. Otherwise, if it's not a 4-0 no, we should just send it forwarded as is suggested by our deputy not municipal clerk, sorry, I was going to say that, Director of Corporate Services, suggested in a motion that she set out there that we forward it for decision to our estimates, which is what we typically do. So this wouldn't be unusual. It allows us to look at all of the items together, including how much budget we have left. So, all right. So what I would ask you to do, I'm going to introduce the topic, and I have notes of who might be here on behalf of that, and if you would come forward, introduce yourself again, write your name. Oh, we have it typed out in advance, I think so, but you should probably still write your name. so we have the correct spelling. And so we'll start with the Atomique Productions, which is the essentially the Greater Victoria Spirit Committee, and I understand, and I've seen former His Worship Alan Lowe is here to speak on behalf of that request. Just so we treat everybody fairly, when I welcome you, I'll start the 3 minutes.
Have you welcomed me already?
No, I actually say welcome.
Oh, there you go.
But that welcome wasn't the welcome. It's when I look you in the eye and I say, welcome.
Thank you,
Mr.
Your
Lowe,
Worship.
former Mayor of Victoria. Glad to have you in our chambers again. Welcome. There we go.
Thank you. Your Worship and members of council, thank you for this opportunity for me to come before you to request a grant for the Greater Victoria Spirit Community Society. We were formed during the 2010 Olympics, and we actually assisted in running the first leg of the Olympic torch relay. We assisted the City of Victoria on the 150th anniversary. And now the federal government has asked the City of Victoria, in conjunction with ourselves, to work on the sesquicentennial for Canada. We actually were one of 19 municipalities that were asked to work on a first night celebration on New Year's Eve. And if you were down there along the Inner Harbor, you would have seen probably the best fireworks that we've ever had in the city. And we're hoping that during Canada Day this year, we will actually have an even better fireworks celebration. We also have 11 days of events planned, starting from National Aboriginal Day all the way through till Canada Day. We also have 2 days of main stages. So not only on July the 1st, on June 30th, we will also have another main stage event at the Inner Harbor in front of the legislature. At that time, we will have essentially not only one headliner show on Canada Day, we'll have 2 headliner shows, one the night before, so it'll be a weekend celebration. We're here to ask you to be part of that celebration, and we're hoping that you will be able to assist us with a grant as well. There's going to be probably in the neighborhood of 250,000 people down there on the 11 days, free event, and hopefully on Canada Day and the day before, we'll have over 100,000 people down there. It's not just a City of Victoria event, it's a regional event, and we welcome the residents of Oak Bay and other municipalities alike to come and join us for the celebrations. Should you be giving us a grant for the celebration, we will also be making sure that the District Oak Bay will be recognized for your contribution as well. If you have any questions.
Thank you very much. And you don't get extra money just because you finished early. But you had 45 seconds left. Yes, and certainly I was down for that first night, and I tell you, one of the reasons I enjoyed it so much is because you coordinated it with the Ottawa midnight, so which meant it was 9 o'clock here, and I could stay up long enough to see it, which was
Many
grateful.
of us.
Could you do that again?
The only problem with Canada Day is at 9 o'clock at night.
So it's still light.
It's
That's
still
the problem.
light, so that's the problem.
How about 9:15 then? And we were, and I remember when you were mayor, we were also very helpful towards the arena. That we were one of the few communities that
You were one of 5.
But we started and we continued all those years to help you out. So
Are you still paid, by the way?
no, it
ended after 10 years.
It was a 10-year commitment. I think we were one of the few that actually completed, one of 2 that completed 10 years. So we
Much
thank you for
appreciated.
the leadership in putting that arena together.
Thank you.
You and your group. So, go ahead, please, Councillor Braithwaite.
Thank you so much. This is going to be a great event, I think, and I'm going to very happily support it. But I do have a question. I noticed that there's no financials other than the budget that you have attached. Is there going to be a possibility for us to see any other financials before estimates?
What types of financials are you looking for? Because the Greater Victoria Spirit Society has financials that we actually register every year.
Okay.
Because it's not an ongoing thing,
Right.
we don't really have like another Canada Day financials.
Well, and I was thinking about that because I know that last year we supported your regular Canada Day for $1,000, which is the normal amount that we support. So to me, the increase to $5,000 this year is is good for the 150th. So I just was wondering if you did have them, because normally we do ask anybody who's putting a grant application in for their financials. I think in this case, to see the financials when we were giving you $1,000 for a normal grant application, it might not be applicable. So, I mean, I'm okay if you don't have them, but normally we do ask for them. So, but I would be very happy to make the motion to send this to estimates for the full amount of $5,000.
Okay, thank you. Moved and seconded. Any other questions or discussion? I would encourage you to produce the financials, only because that would also give us a sense of the size of this year's celebration compared to when we typically give you 1,000. It's probably this much that you're doing, and you know, you'll be able to show all of the other events. So I think that would be helpful, and you can provide that to our Director of Financial Services, Ms. Carter's team. Okay. Again, thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Thank you very much. That'll go to estimates. The next up is the Bateman Foundation, and we might have Cassie Holcomb. No, I didn't think so. So you'll have to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you to members of council and staff for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Peter Ord. I'm the Managing Director of the Robert Bateman Centre and Foundation.
Welcome, Mr. Ord.
Thank you. The Bateman Foundation is dedicated to engaging the public to conservation and to the magic of nature through art, and also encourages awareness through environmental stewardship. We're based in the Inner Harbour, and we've been there since 2013. The application you have before you is to support a project we have this year called the Urban Sanctuary Project. Is to recognize the 100th anniversary of the Migratory Bird Convention Act, which was established in 1917. And from that act, the Migratory Bird Sanctuary that is established in Victoria Harbour, Esquimalt, and Shoal Harbour were all established. And what we'd like to do this year is to use any of the funds we're raising to create a project that encourages residents of Oak Bay to participate in some traveling exhibit, a youth symposium, an adult symposium, and a publication that we're doing to encourage awareness around the importance of the marine ecosystems here. And of course, the Migratory Bird Sanctuary extends all the way from Portage Inlet into the Inner Harbour and all the way around to Willows Beach and up to Cadbro Bay. So it's a very large area. A lot of the public aren't aware of it, and this is a chance for us to show how that would look. The traveling exhibit would be held and hosted at various events throughout Oak Bay. And in tandem with that, we have a Resilience of the People exhibit that was in the Bateman Centre last summer. It's something that we'd also like to feature here at City Hall. The symposium will involve students from Oak Bay School, and it's really to encourage them to participate in stewardship work along the foreshore of the Migratory Bird Sanctuary. At the same time, a publication will be available, which we'd like to show what species and what important biodiversity exists along this amazing shore, and that would become available to schools and to adults, and to encourage bird watching, marine and other ecosystem sort of stewardship and knowledge. This project will be going for the next year, and it should culminate in a very large sort of celebration into the spring of 2018. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now, let's see if there's any questions from Council. Go ahead, Councillor Braithwaite, please.
Thank you. I really enjoyed the Resilience of the People exhibit that you had at the Bateman Foundation Centre, and that was the first time I had ever been in there, so it was really lovely. So I was pleased to see your application for something that's very near and dear to a lot of our hearts. So I would be very happy to make the motion to send this to estimates for the full amount.
Second.
Thank you. I have a question. How did you arrive at $2,500 for us, which is the same as for Saanich?
So that would be based on the number of events that we'd be having here in Oak Bay, and also to participate with the school district. So it would be sort of working with the school district and the 3 elementary schools and the high schools and the middle schools.
Thank you very much. And have these amounts been, it says speculative at the top of them. The City of Victoria, 10,000, District of Saanich, 2,500. Have any indication whether or not those communities are coming forward with their amounts?
No, we haven't heard at all.
All right. Thank you. And if you hear between now and when we go to estimates, we'd appreciate receiving that information.
Yes, Your Worship.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Councillor Zelko, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I'm very pleased to see that the idea of a traveling exhibit coming to Oak Bay. Your facility is fantastic, but it's great that you're coming to the people, because sometimes it's hard for the people to come to you. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I don't see any other hands or any other points. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Thank you very much. So it'll go to our estimates committee for full consideration. Thank you, sir. The next is the Creatively United for the Planet Society is a new grant request. I have possible Ms. Littman might be attending. Is there anyone from the from the Creatively United for the Planet Society? No one here? All right. What's the druthers? Obviously, we can't ask any questions, but if you have questions that you wish answered in the event that it goes to the next stage, you might want to put it on the table now, and then Ms. Carter will forward those questions, or staff will. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Chair. I can share that I did attend their all-day event that they held at, I think it was the Royal Bay, the new school out in what was it called, Colwood? The west end of CRD. And it was absolutely fantastic. They did an amazing job, and I've also noticed recently that the Lieutenant Governor has been sponsoring or has been working with this organization. So I'd be very happy to move this forward to estimates. I propose that, please.
Okay, so you've made that motion. Thank you. Has it been seconded?
I'll second so we can discuss.
Okay. All right, discussion. No discussion? All in favor? Opposed? I think what we did say, though, if there was the rule was if there was one person, if it wasn't 4-0, we would move it forward. And so it looks like, are we okay with that? It's just that we don't have the other three here, and if the other three were to join in the Councillor Zelko's, it would go there. So are we okay to move that to the next level?
Certainly.
Okay.
Just my objections were just that
all right.
It's
so we'll mark that as everyone in favor to go to the next stage. I have a question, however, and that is how they've broken down the in their fundraising. Again, they put under speculative municipal grants, Oak Bay, Colwood, and then city, which I assume to mean City of Victoria, but it's not clear. But I think it's the only city we have. Oh no, it's a city of. We also have Langford as a city now, I think, right? So I'm not sure what the word city means. And the $7,500, and then under there they have sponsorship $2,500. My question is, why are those three communities tagged and only tagged, and who is the city, and what are they? What about all the other communities? Because quite often that's an issue. I mean, when we look at the criteria that we've agreed to apply, we do look at connectivity to Oak Bay, and maybe they have special connectivity to Oak Bay that we're not aware of. So, all right. So that will go to estimates. The next one is the Community Association of Oak Bay. I see again the president is here, Chris Nichols. Do you have a presentation, or because we kind of all know what Community Association is? But let's see. You're more than welcome to give us a presentation, or just take questions.
I'll do a little presentation.
Okay, that's good.
Nothing long.
Okay,
I just
you're
want
welcome.
to thank Your Worship and councillors for again at least acknowledging our grant application and hopefully giving it some due consideration. This is our 9th year of connecting our community together, all our residents. We feel very strongly about that, and we have obviously for 9 years, and we keep going, keep growing. We keep making partnerships with Heritage Oak Bay, with the Friends of Uplands Park, with some of the organizations, Emmanuel Baptist Church. So we're continuing to build within our community, which we think is really good. Last year we did about, I think it was 5 forums on housing and heritage, our connection to the Salish Sea, to mention but a few. We've had 2 just recently. The last one was on this past Saturday, where we actually were talking about something that's in the official community plan on green shores. So we're trying to, we're trying to assist in terms of working through things that are in our official community plan and getting the community engaged, because they are interested. They have a lot of topics. We keep on getting more topics than we can possibly do forums for. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that there is a value to what we add. We're a volunteer organization. We try very strongly to bring this value to our community. We're going to, as you mentioned, we're thinking about working with our neighbors in Saanich about the beach cleanup at Cadborough Bay. We do our annual beach cleanup at McNeil Bay. But this we feel was very valuable for us to get involved. And I'll probably leave it at that. You probably know most of what we do, but we do value the money that we get. We spend it wisely. Thank you.
Okay, I have a question. You did a really good job last year. And so the extra 500 that you're asking is for?
I knew that was going to come up.
Well, then you'll have an answer then.
Okay, I didn't know that much. No, the reason for the extra 500 is because, as I mentioned, I actually get emails from people saying, could you do a forum on this? Because we think we have enough people that actually want to talk about that. And as you well know, all of these forums, we require a place to have them. So we require money to have that. So the more we want to get the community engaged, the more we're going to ask for money to do that. We also try to do our own fundraising, if possible, to do that, to sort of offset it, so we don't always have to come back and keep increasing it. But there is a great interest and need.
Okay, because last year was 1,500. I
Yes.
should have put that out there, and then this year's request for 2,000. Councillor Braithwaite, please.
Thanks. Just before we send this to estimates, just would like to have the same request of you as I did of the Atomique, which is to have your financials. I'm surprised that your financials weren't attached to this. They weren't actually on, they're not on my iPad. Are they on anybody else's? Just so if you could, there's a budget there, but there's no financials. So if you could have those, that would be really helpful. And I'd like to make the motion to send the full $2,000 to estimates.
Second.
Okay.
Thank you again.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Not opposed. The next one is the Friends of Upland Parks. Last year, $1,500. This year, they're requesting $2,000 for restoration activities in Uplands Park.
Okay.
Margaret Litke, who's the chair of the Friends of Upland Park, are here, and we actually just, I think this afternoon, got your annual report circulated, and we thank you for that.
Okay. So I also left a copy of the, thank you, yes, I'm short.
So,
You're lovely looking after me.
welcome.
Thank you. So last year, just to let people know some of our statistics, we had about 89 events running in the park, 50 school programs, 10 birding walks, 16 public restoration events, 5 specific group invasive removal events, 5 large public and educational events, and 3 family programs. So we engaged over 1,500 people in these events. The steering committee is about there are 13 of us on the committee right now. Because of all the volunteers that we generate for Uplands Park, and because the park has 23 rare plants, because Wiley has found another 2 rare plants in the park, and some more little areas where some of the existing ones are living. So the more he gets in the park, the more he finds. We have been honored to be part of the application to the Habitat Stewardship program, and Wiley has done most of that. And Oak Bay Parks Department then received over $100,000 towards working in the park and management. And so what they do is they hire Wiley on contract to develop the management plan for the invasives, but not for all the other plants or anything. And it's only around the areas where the rare plants are. So we still need a lot of volunteers to go into the areas where they're not rare plants, because otherwise the globally endangered Garry Oak ecosystem isn't going to survive. And Uplands Park is the very best representative of an endangered Garry Oak ecosystem. One of the specific parts of the park that is really critical is the Maritime Meadows, which are the meadows on Cattle Point. in another couple of weeks, when the little tiny weeny rare plants start growing up, you will not be able to walk on that point without walking on some rare plants. So that is a big issue that we're trying to deal with and look at. Okay, so we've also done a number of different activities. We've partnered with a whole bunch of other people, including lately we just partnered with Community Association and bringing over Nikki Wright and Leanna Boyer from Sea Change to do a presentation to the public on the eelgrass beds and what their recommendations might be. So we're working with CAOB. We're going to try and do a lot more partnering with them, especially on the marine foreshore type events. I also gave you a list of some of the events that we are planning for the spring. And you can see in that we are also partnering with the Royal BC Museum on doing a beach seine net across the eel beds on the north end of Willows Beach. That will be in June. We're going to be partnering with the geologists from the British Columbia government on doing a program on the geology of Cattle Point, which is extremely interesting. We had 100 people at that last year, and they were absolutely blown away by things. They were so excited by it, so they said that they'll come back.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes. Oh, and I have to say this, we are also doing a big project with Trafalgar Park, and which is another park because it's educational with students. Thanks.
So I'm going to, don't run away, because we probably will have some questions for you. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Chris, actually, from CAOB. And that is, last year you asked for 1,500, or you received 1,500, and this year you're asking for 2,000. And just give us an idea what the extra 500 is for, please.
The actual 500 will be probably for buying more tools. With the big project at Trafalgar Park, we're in real need of saws. At the moment, we only have 5 saws. And when you have 40 students down there, like it's going to be on TV on Sunday at 5 o'clock, you will notice that only a few of them have saws. So
Thank you very much. Let's see if there's any other questions. Councillor Braithwaite, please.
Again, I think that you are probably the hardest working volunteer that we have in this municipality. And yes, it's very true. And I think that what you do at that park, you and your team, for a park that really showcases Oak Bay is unbelievable for the budget that you work with. It's astounding, and the number of hours that you must put in is just astronomical. So I'd very happily put this forward to estimates for the full $2,000.
Second.
Okay, thank you very much.
And will you provide some financials? Everyone else has been asked for some financials.
Oh,
Are they
I
here?
already have provided financials. They're
there?
definitely there.
Oh,
yes.
at the bottom.
Was,
Yes,
yeah,
I
it was
find- I
put
see
in
them.
on
Okay.
January 27.
Yep,
Okay.
that's good. Thank
All
you
right,
very
thanks.
much.
All right.
Okay, discussion, all in favor, opposed, none opposed. The next one is a new request for $2,500. It's Garry Oak Ecosystem Recovery Team for a project in Oak Bay and awareness and outreach events. Is there a representative? It says here you're not yet determined, but it looks like we've determined who you are.
I think I'm fully determined, thank you.
That's what I'm thinking. Just looking at you, you're well determined.
Well determined.
But if you give
well-aged.
us your name, then I'll be able to say that word that starts the 3-minute clock.
Sure, my name is Chris Junk, and
Don't forget to fill that out, Chris.
yes,
if you-
I'll do that. And
welcome.
I have to apologize first on behalf of the director that was that prepared the presentation or the application. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to attend this evening, and I had a last-minute request. But I've been with the Garry Oak Ecosystems Recovery Team since 2002, so I'll do my best to answer your questions and explain the proposal. So thank you, Your Worship, and councillors and committee members for providing the opportunity for us to come tonight and talk about the Garry Oak Ecosystems Recovery Team and some of the things we've been doing and what we would like to do if we're successful in obtaining this grant. We at the Garry Oak Ecosystems Recovery Team, we're a not-for-profit group that formed in 1999, and we've been working since then to protect and recover rare and endangered Garry Oak ecosystems and the species at risk associated with them. And we've been doing that in a number of ways over the years through public awareness and outreach. And I provided a handout tonight that lists at least some of the the resources that we have available on our website currently. So they include things like model bylaws. We've worked with local governments in the past, and a lot of things for restorationists and private landowners as well, and developers. We've also been doing things like reintroducing western bluebirds to Vancouver Island, and rare butterflies, Taylor's checker spot butterflies, to the only place in Canada that they currently exist on Denman Island. And if it wasn't for snow, we would be putting larvae out this week. We're hoping to do that next week. There's also a lot of public programming that we've been doing over the years, and services. And I'm actually heading up a new initiative called Back to Our Roots, Gardening for Nature. So we work with landowners to create habitat buffers around and linkages between parks that have rare plants and rare species in them, such as Uplands Park and Harling Point, areas like that. So what we're also doing is we've been involved directly in habitat restoration initiatives, and we've been working over the years in more than 10 sites directly, and then indirectly have assisted organizations such as the Friends of Uplands Park and others that have been doing work in Oak Bay as well. And most recently, over a several-year period, we've been doing work through one of our members, mainly Matt Fairbarns, who many of you know. I'm sure you all know Matt, at Harling Point and Trial Island. So,
Okay, thank you very much. Let's just remain there to see if there's any questions. Sure. No question. Oh, is there a question?
No. I was just going to say I would send this to estimates.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion, all in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Thank you very much.
Okay,
We
thank you.
appreciate you coming here. Next one is the Greater Victoria Bike to Work Society. Last year, 2,000. Current request is 2,000. We have celebration stations in Oak Bay and much more. To say that we're familiar with it is probably an understatement. I think most of us have Bike to Work T-shirts in our drawers dating back for what, 20 years?
All 20, yeah, all 22.
20, well, I don't have them anymore, but I got most of them.
Awesome.
So is there any questions for the Bike to Work Society?
No, just move forward the amounts that's stated.
Now, did you have a presentation? I don't want to dissuade you.
I mean, I was probably just going to tell you things that you already know about the society, and mainly this year we're really excited to have another celebration station in Oak Bay, and aside from your financial assistance, we would really encourage you all to participate and, set that example for the community. About 8% of overall participants are from Oak Bay, and given that Oak Bay is about 4% of Greater Victoria, that's a really good representation amongst our participants. And that, of course, is because you're within that golden 10-kilometer zone where it's truly faster for people to commute by bike that are going into the city. So any ways that you can support us in getting the message out and having people participate is equally as helpful as your financial assistance should you decide to support us. So.
Problem before. Oh, there we go. Since there's so many people watching at home who may not know the date, so why don't you give us the dates?
Thank you for the opportunity. Bike to Work Week this year is May 29th to June 4th. So last week of May, as it typically is.
June 4th.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's been moved and seconded. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Okay. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Discussion, all in favor? It's the ghost of Mayor's Past, I think. All right, the next one is the Maritime Museum, which is item number 12. The previous grant was for $1,500. The current grant request is for $3,500 for public outreach and community partnership. And I'm going to say that you're not Brittany.
I am not Brittany.
I didn't think so. think we, for next time we do this, let's have it graded in terms of height, so we don't have to keep this yo-yo of the microphone up and down. Or just insist that everyone send a person of a particular height.
Yeah.
That might be easier. Just a minute.
Try our crunches here. Your Worship, members of council, thanks for listening to me and the opportunity to talk here about the Maritime Museum of BC.
Okay, you're welcome here.
Thank you. So, this is my second time to come before you folks, and want to talk about a little bit about our location down at 634 Humboldt Street. It's a small location. As many of you know, we lost our larger location a couple of years ago. But with that, we've been working with the neighbors in the area to put on events of the maritime theme. And I think I talked last year a little bit about what was coming up, which was an event called Three Ways Around the World. And that was where we had 3 adventurers that went around the world in their own way. A 90-year-old, a 70-year-old Oak Bay resident, and about a 33-year-old young man that lives in Fairfield. It was an unbelievable night. We had 220 people. We filled the Vic Theatre, and you could have heard a pin drop with these gentlemen talking about their experiences. So we're concentrating on public outreach and tours, and we'll be operating tours of the harbor this summer. Both with tourists coming in, people from the Empress that are waiting for their teas, people off the cruise ships through CVS tours and things like that. So we got a lot of things going on. We also have 7 new school and community programs with a variety of age groups of people. And let's see, this year again, we're going to be operating our massive marine garage sale down at Ogden Point, through the benefit and the support of the Greater Victoria Harbour Authority. It's on April 22nd for those of you in TV land, and it's a great big recycling event where we have literally a couple of thousand people show up and trade their marine stuff. It allows people to get on the water for a much lower price and things like that. In the fall, we'll be launching a cafe-style speaker series that will happen once a month during the winter, or fall and winter. And these will be by a donation basis, but people coming together to talk about different things maritime. We've also, through a new partnership with the Greater Victoria Public Library, we are offering barrier-free access with up to 24 cards so that people can go to the library, get the card, and then go into the museum and learn about, what we do there. We're also interested in working with community partners, and I believe Oak Bay Heritage has talked to us about the light that came off the Trial Islands Lighthouse and restoring that, and that's something we're very interested in doing. Finally, in an attempt to be more entrepreneurial and as an extension of our big marine garage sale, we've been given a little building out at Canoe Cove Marine out in North Saanich, and we're going to be operating through our volunteers a marine thrift store 2 days a week to begin with. And this, again, is just a way for people to exchange marine stuff and to generate revenue, hopefully, for the museum. So
Thank you.
With that, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's just see if there's any questions. Yes, Councillor Zelka, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question. Is all the material of the museum still in the storage in Seymour Place, in that old government IT building?
Well, a great portion of it is, yes. We still have, we have some stuff on display down at Humboldt Street. We have some stuff on display at both Pier A and Pier B at Ogden Point for the cruise passengers coming through. And through the graces of the GVHA and Western Stevedoring, we have some bigger items in storage at Ogden Point in the big building.
Thank you very much. Just go ahead, please.
Yeah, I noticed that on your expense, your operating fund budget, your expenses from 2016, your actuals, to your budget for 2017-18, there was quite an increase. So can you talk to me a little bit about that, about where perhaps that might have come from?
The expenses going up in this next year?
Yeah, it went from 295, 491 to 437, 784.
Yeah, it's mainly in our adding student staff and staff for a lot of the different public engagement and tours that we're going to be doing.
And just a follow-up question, if I may. So I'll ask a question that the mayor has been asking others that have come forward with a increase in their budget. So what's the difference between the $1,500 that you were asking for last year and the $3,500 you're asking for this year? Is it $3,500?
Yeah.
Is that would it be the same answer?
It's the same answer, yes.
Thank you.
All right. No other questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Is there 4 no's or someone?
Move to estimates.
Mine's gonna, oh no, mine's good. Electrical personality.
Testing, testing, there we go. And then the rolling mic. Pretty soon I'm going to be sitting over where you're sitting.
Thank you, Mr.
So
Donahue.
moved and seconded with respect to moving this to testing. Yeah, moved and seconded with respect to moving this to the next stage, the estimates. All in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Thank you very much. The next is the need to suicide prevention, education, and support. No grant last year. Grants is request for $1,000. We have in the past years made grants. We started cutting them down a couple of years ago, and then eventually last year, after kind of giving the appropriate notice that we weren't going to support we took it down to 0, and I think that we had quite a lively debate last year, and was kind of we all felt that this was more appropriate in the health field than in Oak Bay. So, welcome.
Jane. Okay. Well, thank you for at least entertaining our
It's
submission.
Jane, right?
Yes.
Jane Arnott. Okay, and then maybe you want to move a little closer
to the
microphone.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for entertaining the submission. We realize that you may still want to discourage downloading from other levels of government. However, also wanted to ask and to keep you aware of our activities and what we've been doing. We had a busy year, and really briefly, we reached a total of 37 students with our suicide awareness and education presentation program going into the schools. We were in every middle and high school in the 4 school districts except for 2 middle schools. And when we go into a school, we reach an agreement with the school where we go into every classroom at every grade for an entire grade cohort. So generally we're with that program going into grade 8 in the middle school and then grade 10 in the high school. And we also connect and work with the counselor to ensure that we can bridge any kids that indicate that they'd like to connect with someone to talk to, or just indicate that they are struggling, and we make that happen. We also this year rolled out a Mindfulness for Middle School program, which is what we developed to respond to requests to go into the lower middle school grades. And there were 425 students who participated in that. In terms of Oak Bay, last year we did talk to about 168 students in Oak Bay schools, and that was 8 presentations, and this year we're doing at least 10. Youth Space, our chat volume went up to 3,416. We'll be training over 50 volunteers. That's what we do annually. And those volunteers are mostly folks under 30, and gives them great opportunity to not only learn the skills but also apply them. And the other thing I wanted to just mention, is that, I totally recognize your downloading argument, and if you vote no, I'm not going to be surprised in any way, shape, or form. But this, we are hoping, with some of the releases of money from the federal level, to get some agreement with both MCFD and Island Health this year. But at this point, going into the new year, our current service level is at risk. So,
Thank you very much, Ms. Arnott. Anyone feels this should be moved to estimates?
I would move this move that it move to estimates.
Fair enough.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Now, this just goes to estimates, just so you know. Don't want to create any false hope. The Oak Bay Community Artists is next. I've moved so many times I've lost my notes. Excuse me. There's a previous grant of $300. Current grant is $500 for the Bowker Creek Brush Up. Excuse me. That includes insurance, porta potty, and eliminating fees for Oak Bay community groups. And
it basically says it.
but I don't want to.
I'm Pat Heinmarch Watson. I'm the president of the Oak Bay Community Artist Society, OBCAS. Thank
Welcome.
you, Mr. Mayor and Council, for this opportunity and for considering our increase of our grants. This year we are celebrating the 13th brush up on the 13th of August and proposing this on the 13th of March. So I'm really hoping the 13th is a good number and the sun will come out. So we get our money from for this event, which takes place for 5.5 hours in Boca Creek Park each summer, from the fees from our members and fees from the artists that partake in the park that day. In that we do not charge our guest artists, our youth and student artists, and what we are having come here a number of times now to ask for the insurance coverage. I was listening to other community groups, and here they are asking for money, and then we are going to community groups and asking them for money to come into the park and be part of the community on that day. And it dawned on me that we really should not be asking them for their $75 to come and be there, but we should open space for them and have them join us. And we've had various community groups come year after year. The volunteers, for instance, the emergency preparedness, Oak Bay Rec, Green, and Heritage has asked us for this year. So we would really like not to have to ask them, and we would like not to have to increase our fees for our artists for this event. I think that probably covers why we're asking for that extra $200. It'll cover part of what we will not get, but we'll make it up with going to more sponsors and stuff if we can.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Councillor Braithwaite, please.
Thank you. I'm assuming that this is going to be at the end of the Arts and Culture Week as well. Is
Actually,
that correct?
no. This year it's the beginning of Arts.
The
and
beginning of
Culture
Arts.
Week.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, there
Good.
were situations with the long weekend in August,
Right.
so it got shifted up.
Yeah.
And originally it was going to be with the car show. This year, though we had separated that in the last few
Yeah,
years,
yeah.
but now the car show was moved into July. So
Yeah, I think there was something to do with the dates of the car show for
Right.
another district.
Right.
So
And unless they're going to change the Arts and Culture Week and put us as the anchor again, I don't. That would be fine with us too.
So
But on the 13th.
yeah, as 13 is my lucky number, I'm happy to send this $500 to estimates.
Second.
Thank you.
And the extra 200 this year, can you be a little more specific about what precisely it's going to be for? Is that for to reduce the cost?
It will go towards the portable toilets or something like
Okay.
that, as we will not be getting money from the community groups.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've cut that out.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Moved and seconded. Discussion, all in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Thank you. We next move to the Oak Bay Figure Skating Club. Previous grant in 2015, because they do this every 2 years, was $2,546. And the current grant request is for $6,500. And pirouetting, or I guess what that, did you do a sow cow as you came along, or a triple Lutz?
Maybe 20 years ago.
So
I skated at Oak Bay Figure Skating Club more than 20 years ago, but.
and that's to offset the cost of ice rental.
Yes.
For the ice shows and the rehearsals. And you are?
My name's Jeanette Alexander,
Jeanette,
and
welcome.
I am the vice president of the Oak Bay Figure Skating Club.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. So on behalf of the Oak Bay Figure Skating Club executive and the director of skating and our coaching staff, we're here tonight. We'd like to thank you to all the council members and to the district for considering our grant application for ice rental and upcoming ice show that we're hosting in April. The Oak Bay Figure Skating Club was established in 1975 and it runs out of the Oak Bay Rec Center. We are a nonprofit organization that provides learn to skate lessons and figure skating lessons and training all the way from a beginner recreational level up to elite competitive level. And every 2 years, our skating club puts on an ice show for the community, and this year the theme's tribute to Michael Jackson, so we're very excited. We have approximately 120 skaters participating in this year's event. They range from 3 to 19 years in age. And we also have our Special Olympics, youth and adults that will be participating as they do every ice show. Our skaters and their families and our community are getting very excited about the event, and we're looking forward to another wonderful production. It will showcase the skills and talents of all our skaters. Our goal as an executive is to keep the costs affordable for our skaters to all participate in the ice show, and for the ticket sales to be affordable for everyone to attend. We're currently busy initiating a fundraising campaign to help fund the event. However, the additional ice rental for rehearsals and the show are significant. We have been fortunate to receive grants from the District of Oak Bay in the past, and they've really helped offset the cost of putting on such a production. It's made the show a positive experience for all. One final note, as a club, we feel strongly about giving back to our community, and we make it a priority to positively represent our community by promoting fitness, healthy lifestyle, and good sportsmanship by holding events like this ice show that's coming up in April. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, 2 years ago, we gave you $2,546, and I can't remember, was that a portion of, does anyone remember the portion of the rental, but not the full forgiveness of the rental? Is that what it was?
I believe it was half of what we asked for.
Half of the rental.
Half of the rental, yes.
And so this year, the rental, so that would have meant the rental was approximately $5,000?
That's correct.
So now it's approximately $6,500.
It is.
For the same amount, for the same time rental?
I believe so. The ice fees have gone up in the last 2 years.
Okay.
And so I know our director submitted the exact cost of how much it would cost for those 2 weeks of rehearsal time plus the 2 ice shows.
Now, in the past, did you have 2 ice shows or just the one?
We always have 2 ice shows in the same day, a 2 p.m. and a 7 p.m. show.
All right. So let's see if there's any other questions. Thank you very much. Councillor Braithwaite, please.
Thank you. I was looking at the, let me just see what this is. It's your budget.
Yes.
On page 6, I believe, of your presentation under revenue.
Mm-hmm.
And at the bottom it says municipal grant, then it has $1,500. Whereas you're actually asking for $6,500. So I wonder if you could just tell me why that says that.
Okay. That possibly was the number that was taken from 2 years ago, but maybe it was actually $2,500 that we were given, not $1,500.
Okay, because then your expenses and your revenue don't balance, would be my only concern there. So I'm not sure whether that's just an addition error. I'm just going to add it up in my head really quick here.
Thank you.
22, 24, 6, 25, 26, 1, 6, 27, 28, 29, it's for 1,500. So it's interesting. It's just odd that it would be a $1,500 line item there, whereas you're asking for $6,500. So I just didn't know whether that was an error or.
I can't answer that because our director actually submitted the budget because he does the budget for the ice show. I could double check on that.
I think it would be helpful if
it goes
before
to
the estimates.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume this is going to go to the estimates.
Because, I mean, the way I'm feeling right now, $6,500 to me is a lot for us to be, although it's a fabulous production. I was comfortable last time at paying for half of the rental. And so if it came to it, let's see what the rest of the discussion around the table is, but I would perhaps consider putting half of the amount to estimates. But I'd like to hear what my colleagues have to say.
All right. Any questions? Yes, go ahead, Councillor Zelka.
I would feel comfortable with the half. Thank you.
Can I just ask what you said you're keeping the fees affordable for attendees, and just maybe you could highlight what efforts you're making to make it an inclusive event. Just let us know how much the fees were.
The ice show fees for skaters to be part of the event, or for the tickets?
For both.
Yeah, absolutely. There's sort of two costs depending on the participation level of the participants. So we usually have kept it around between $90 to $120 per participant, and that covers costume as well as all their extra ice time and coaching time. So it is actually quite affordable when you compare it to other skating clubs that can charge $400 to $500 for their student to participate in an ice show. Yeah, so I mean, we basically just cover the coaching and the ice.
And
we keep our tickets too. Currently this year it's $15 per guest.
So very reasonable, yeah, and inclusive. So I given that the money comes right back to Oak Bay. And that this is an Oak Bay event, I feel strongly that we should support the full amount.
Okay, I think we've had that if one person wants it to go for the full amount, I think that's the way we should do it, because it may be the three other votes may support you when you get there. So I think that's fine. So how should we do this? Withdraw the...
There's no I just said at the time.
There's no motion has been made.
Yeah.
Very good. So we don't have a procedural issue. Okay. Okay. So you're going to move that the full amount at this point goes.
And then we can have that debated estimates.
So it doesn't mean that you're going to get the full amount. That means the full amount will be considered.
I'll second.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
And you probably want a correction to somehow, because it.
Yes, I will.
It clearly doesn't balance.
Double check on that. Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
And, I mean, we'd be happy to give you a municipal grant, $1,500, because that's what it shows, right? We don't want to hold you to that, because it could be a typo. All right.
Well, thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you very much.
And you're all invited to attend.
Thank you.
You were there 2 years ago.
Yes, I was.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep. And I promised I'd learn to skate the next time.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. All in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Thank you. Item 16, that is the Oak Bay Music Society, previous grant of $500. The current request is for $500 for 2 concerts in the summer serenade program. Eric Abink is the founder. Is he here?
I would move to the full amount to estimates.
Okay. Second.
Moved, seconded. Discussion. Is there any information that anyone wants from this to be brought to the estimates, which is not here?
I think when I looked at it, I felt that all the information that I needed was there.
Okay,
yeah.
So there's no information we'll be requesting. Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? None opposed. Thank you. Oh. No, because we kind of agreed that if one person wanted it sent, we should all agree. But that doesn't mean you can't oppose it. All right, so Councillor Zelka opposed. Thank you. The next one is the Oak Bay. Oh, no, we pulled 17. So we're on to the Threshold Housing Society. And I see the executive director is here. Let me just pull that up. Thank you very much. Mr. Muldoon.
Hello.
Welcome. And so the previous grant was for $1,690.69, which represented the amount of taxes that you would be expending in 2016, as I can recall, correct?
That's right.
And so, and at that time, we felt that we should, last year, give you the amount of the taxes so you were tax-free. So it's not, we're kind of forgiving the taxes in an indirect way. So this year, you're asking for $4,233, which I assume represents this year's
That's right,
property taxes.
For the total year, yes.
Okay, and that's you use this for life skills training and youth navigation to access regional services, and welcome.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, thank you for the invitation to be here tonight. Let me just give you a recap. Back in September 2016, 7 new residents moved into Oak Bay. They were vulnerable youth living in precarious housing situations in the region and perhaps even here in Oak Bay. But they located themselves through our auspices at 2095 Granite Street. And since then, they are doing fabulous. How do we measure that? They haven't left, which is a key factor. We have one youth that's on the cusp of leaving because we worked very hard with her and her family for a family reconnect, which is, to my mind, the optimum in success. When you can bring a vulnerable child back to the family where they belong and work with both sides, everyone's a happy camper, and they're out of the risk of being homeless. In the meantime, the other youth that are there are doing fabulous because they are getting a very, very high dose of life skills. This includes readies to rent, financial literacy, the basic skills of cooking, for example, obligatory chores around the house, but also emotional management through learning through Lost Society and anxiety management. So these youth are getting a lot of things that they would not normally get if they were on the street, living in a shelter, or just living by themselves in an RV or someplace, again, in a precarious situation. We are their surrogate parents to some degree. And by proxy, you might say, Oak Bay are their proxy and surrogate parents too. But they are doing very well. We have garnered the support of the community, the neighborhood, and we have the ongoing relationship with the Oak Bay United Church on whose property the house resides. So again, these youth are doing fabulous, but it's the key thing is not just this. It's the fact that they have this engagement piece called life skills that's really, really motivating them to stay, to finish school, to get a job, and become contributing members of society. Let me just finish, Mayor and Council, by saying I want to thank you, and I think Oak Bay should be proud for providing this place for vulnerable youth. You are doing your part in the region for stopping homelessness. This is the way you stop it. This is the smart way of doing it, by stopping it before it starts. You get these youth out of the channel. Right now, you are doing your work and turning the tap off to homelessness in the entire region. Every youth that leaves Threshold House, a new youth comes in. So the chain goes on, the work goes on, the mission goes on. But it is heavily dependent on grant work. If you saw our summary budget there, we do depend a lot on grants, and we're depending on this one too. But let me just finish by thanking you, and I think, again, the entire Oak Bay community should be proud of their work in preventing homelessness in the region. Thank you. Practice.
Thank you, Mr. Muldoon.
You're
Any
welcome.
questions? Councillor Braithwaite and Councillor Zelka, please.
Same question or same request as other people who've stood before us tonight, which would be that you supply us with financials.
Be happy to. It's my oversight that I didn't.
No worries at all, because I think that really helps us in forming our
Certainly
decision.
does.
And I
Understandable.
think that, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you were here last year, did we say to you, I hope you're not going to come back next year and ask us for money to cover the taxes? Did we not say that? Is my memory failing?
No, you
me?
were, yeah, and yes, you're very accurate on
Yeah,
that.
okay. That's what I thought.
But did we all say that? All 7 of us said that?
Pretty sure.
No, I don't think so. I don't think we all said it, but So I've never heard ourselves speak in unison in that way.
No, but I mean, I commend you on the work that you're doing there.
Yeah.
It's fabulous.
It's excellent
It's a
work.
wonderful,
Thank you.
wonderful facility. So thank you.
Okay.
Oh.
Councillor Zelka, please.
Thank you, Chair. I have to echo my colleague. I appreciate all the work you do. Could you help me understand how are children channeled to your facility? Like how when you have 3 or 4 successes leave, and 3 more show up, where do they come from? How do they get to you?
Multiple referral sources, and they can come from MCFD, the Ministry of Children and Family Development. But our biggest referral source now are high schools: Oak Bay High School, Victoria High, Spectrum, out in the West Shore, because high school counselors and high school teachers are really the key eyes on the community and on the youth. They know the youth that are falling into trouble. We did work with the Greater Victoria Coalition to End Homelessness 2 years ago on a card on identifying youth at being risk of homelessness, so we can get in there very quickly. But and the other source right now is self-referrals. A lot of youth are just referring themselves through our website. They don't want to go through MCFD. They don't want to go through anybody. They know they're in trouble. They know the house, their domestic house situation's not good, so they just refer a self-referral, and we pick it up from there.
Okay, thank you very much.
I move this to estimates.
Moved and seconded. Thank you. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Not opposed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Muldoon.
Thank you.
The next one is the Vancouver Island South Film and Media Commission. We have with us Kathleen Gilbert. Welcome, Film Commissioner. Current grant request is for $10,000, which was the same as last year's grant. And maybe you want to tell us a little bit about...
I think all of you know about... you're going to say welcome?
No, I haven't, because I didn't want to eat into your time with a question. I didn't want to eat into your time with a question. So maybe you can also just tell us how we've been doing locally in terms of bringing film to Oak Bay in particular, because I think in the past year we had a significant windfall in the kinds of productions that came here. I seem to recall tens of thousands of dollars when Grace Point was here. And we've had other movies since then. So that might be something you might want to address. So welcome.
Hi. So I'll answer your question in that we have had several shows through already this year. I know one we're working on because it's the first problem show we've had since 1989 through this region. So a lot of my time has been working on trying to get everyone to pay up, basically. But that's going to happen, and I promise you that. I think this year what I'd really like to share with you, because I think most of you, I don't want to bore you with everything that we do, I know you know that. Our real challenge this year has been that we don't have, and I know I mentioned this last year, that we just don't have the crew that we need to attract more films, and we really felt that this year. We went from bringing in $18 million in 2015, and last year it dropped a bit to about, we're still doing the numbers, but it's looking like maybe just about 11 or 12. So it went from 18 down to 12, and part of it was because we just cannot fill the needs of the productions in terms of crew. So our mandate this year is to really identify people in our communities that already live in our communities that may have transferable skills that we can fast track them into the industry. So we've been holding several workshops. Last weekend it was an accounting workshop. So people who were bookkeepers, payroll clerks, had some experience in that. They spent a Saturday with us with the best film production accountant in Vancouver who was kind enough to come over and do this workshop for us. And so now we have a number of people that with a little more training will be able to go right on to set. On the 24th, we're having a hair and makeup. Same thing where we've looked to salons, put the word out to salons, to some of the schools, to identify people that maybe want to move in from the salons into working in the film industry. So we're trying to identify those. We have a construction one hopefully coming up, and one for grips and electrics as well. So moving electricians that maybe want to spend, 15-hour days doing that rather than bringing in all the money and all the building, that might be a more challenging one. So that's what we're doing. We started, I don't know how many of you heard about it, but we had a huge big career fair about a month ago, and we had 1,800 people come through. They were lined up around the block. So it's the need is out there, and we're just trying now to fill that and figure out how we're going to bring it to fruition and solve that problem that's been now thrown at us. So hopefully we'll see the fruits of this labor in next year. We do have some pretty good shows. We have so far this year we've had 3 television movies, a low-budget feature, which I don't want to talk about, a television series called Reboot that is out shooting starting this week, and very, very exciting. Any questions?
I'll be the one to ask that. Are there any questions? No, I have a question. Do you think what's going on in the States, we don't want to itemize it because we'd be here for about 7 days, but will have an impact? I'm thinking, will there be certain, stars or whatever that may not want to go to the States but prepared to act and move if it was here or Canada?
Well,
have you seen any of that?
I haven't seen it so much. I mean, we've heard the rumors, right? In
Yes.
Hollywood, all of the tabloids have been talking. The film industry tabloids have been talking about all the big stars that are now wanting to move up to Canada, along with half of the rest of the population. But in my office alone, I've had this year 3 calls from film industry workers, creatives, production designers, directors that are interested in the island and possibly moving here. I don't know whether that'll happen, but I can't answer it in terms of stars. None of them have called me.
And there was another issue that arose some years ago. I'm not sure if you call it a sound stage, kind of what's happening on that front? Because I know someone was talking about building one out in the way out western communities or beyond.
Yeah, we've had we've had 4 people step forward over the last year, 2 years, talking about doing that. Most of them have kind of fallen off the radar. I think it's a very expensive facility to work. But we do have the Thrifty's warehouse, which is almost perfect as it is. And another gentleman who I can't mention his name yet, but he is a local businessman, which for me is exciting because all of these others have kind of been people that have come from away and thought that maybe they could do it here. So this fella understands, and he's a good businessman, and he's had some really good successes. So he is, at this point, looking at purchasing that Thrifty's warehouse and turning it into a studio. So we'll see. Maybe next year we'll have one.
Thank you. Any other questions, Councillor Zelka, or just? Yep.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just pleased to see that our grant last year helped with 50 Shades of Grey. I'm curious, where was that filmed?
They didn't film the whole movie here. They just came over for some scenes, and they did most of it in Souk, actually. Yeah.
Ew.
Was it the naughty bits?
I don't know. I wasn't.
That's probably a good reason why they weren't here. I think do we still have bylaws? Yes, on that.
But we had some great children's programming last year,
Yeah.
including The Descendants came back.
I'm quite happy. Thank you very much for your work, by the way. It's really wonderful to see all these things that come to Oak Bay and the opportunities that present themselves. So I'm very happy to send the full amount to estimates.
And second.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Not opposed. Thank you very much. And I understand there's going to be a movie shot locally sometime later this month or something. Maybe. There was something being...
Well, we have stuff on right now. You may be talking about the local fella that is doing the docudrama.
It could be Reboot being filmed in part in Oak Bay?
Oh, yes, for sure.
Okay.
For sure, yes. I think they probably
I was
could.
asked to play a teacher, but I'm out of town. But I'm going to phone it in. Okay, thank you. We have the Victoria Compost Education Centre. This is a new grant request for $3,675 to be used for the Healing City Soils Project. And Marika Smith.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi. Is this
low enough for me.
And welcome to.
There we go. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for this opportunity.
Yep, welcome.
I'm Marika. I'm the director of the Compost Education Center. And this year we're celebrating our 25th anniversary of being in the community, teaching composting and soil conservation, urban sustainability practices for CRD residents. And we've always had a great suite of soil conservation and composting and waste reduction workshops that we go into schools with. I think about 18% are within the Oak Bay community. Very strong membership base and on-site adult workshops as well. And my 10 years there, I started to notice that as food security and food access, urban food production started to become more popular and started to appear in official community plans a little bit more, there was a noticeable absence of soil science and understanding soil, where the food comes from. And as a soil scientist and dirt nerd, this sort of always bothered me a little bit, because it is really important to understand your soil. But I think because it can be so scientific, a lot of people are sort of a little bit fearful of soil chemistry and the big words and science and that sort of thing. It's also very cost prohibitive to get your soil tested. It can be, it's usually around $100 a sample, so it's quite costly. So putting this all together, we developed the Healing City Soils project, last year. It's getting late. I do my best work in the morning. In collaboration with Royal Roads University, and our first year was last year. And we tested 137 residential sites in Victoria and Esquimalt. And all of that information was given back to the residents in plain language, so you don't need a soil chemistry degree to understand it, as well as the results uploaded on an open access map, so the whole community can see where there may be some levels of contamination or poor soil health, without scaring people, but empowering residents with what their land history might be. If there are any issues that are present, then we then followed up with free workshops about soil bioremediation and restoration using really simple techniques with plants and raised beds if necessary, and of course the wonderful use of compost. So it was incredibly popular. And this year we're moving into Saanich and Oak Bay, and it's so popular we got all of the participants we needed within a 48-hour period after it was published in the Oak Bay News. So in fact, we have actually double the amount we need. So we're trying to work that out. The students are ambitious, but they're still students, and they're doing a bachelor degree in 1 year. So it's impressive. So the funding requested would go directly to subsidize those soil tests, and so that we can offer free workshops within the community as well as at our center. So that's the Healing Cities Soil Project in a nutshell. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'm looking at your budget now, and it's just for the single project. Because I go down a little further and see your financial statements as of the end of 15. And for instance, I noticed the receipts, Capital Region District base, 2015, you have $88,000 from them.
Yes.
So what we're seeing in the budget is just for this single project.
That's right. It's just for this project.
Okay.
And just for Oak Bay. And
because I'm looking at, I mean, this is for us, a fairly big amount.
Mm-hmm.
That year in 2015, you got $4,500 from the city of Victoria.
Yes.
Have you gotten monies from any other municipalities, and if so, in what size of amounts?
I actually requested $15,000 from City of Victoria, but they had decided to decrease their funding overall and fund more organizations, was what is my understanding.
Okay, so but I saw 13,000 in 2014, a little more than that, and then 4,500 in 2015. So in 2016, they gave you even less?
Yes, we used to be part of their fee for service, and they got rid of that. And they only fund things like rec centers and that. And I did actually go before them and argue that we are a sort of gap in their service, and they send a lot of their residents to our wonderful resource center in Victoria, but it's my understanding that we don't fall under that, and we have to apply for the sustainability grant with the same maximum of $10,000, I believe.
So this year you're applying for that only for the city of Victoria, and
That's
how much are other communities giving you?
We do get CRD core funding for our school programs and to cover staff wages, because this is a completely separate project that I run alongside the center with Royal Roads. I'm applying to Saanich for their part of the soil testing and Oak Bay for these two projects, but it's a separate project. It's under the umbrella of the Compost Education Center, but it's outside of the scope of the CRD and City of Victoria funding.
So, because in 2015, you got about $88,000 from the CRD, and it'd be about same as last year?
Yeah, we have a 3-year contract with them right now.
So, just explain a little bit more about how it connects to Oak Bay.
So the soil, we're doing 120 soil tests in Oak Bay specifically for private residents of Oak Bay and community gardens. I haven't looked at all the applications. They just came in last week. So
150?
120.
120,
yes.
Okay. Tests.
Yes, soil tests. So there's actually 60 sites, and we do 2 soil tests at each site, usually one in the backyard and one in the front yard, because it's different land use, and right by the road, there's always different contaminant levels. That's going to be uploaded onto, so Oak Bay will literally be on the map with these soil testing. And then we will be offering tailored workshops specifically for Oak Bay residents separate from Saanich that will address the land use history for this region and hopefully actually be situated in Oak Bay so people don't have to travel to, well, Fernwood's not that far, but it's nice to teach within the community.
So this I don't want to belabor the point, but
Oh,
this
sorry.
120, there's 60 people who will have their
60
soil.
homeowners, yeah.
Did they paying any fee?
No.
They apply to have it done?
That's right.
How do you select them?
We had an online application process, and then because we have actually too many, we're going to select based on just geography. We want an appropriate representation of the municipality. So I know that there's 4 people that applied on one street, but probably only one of them is going to get selected.
Why don't you charge them for, because they'll be using that information for their own soils, wouldn't they?
Yeah, but we also want it to be open access for the whole community, so they can look at that map. There's no addresses specifically, but because we have such great support from Royal Rose, they can offer some of the soil testing, but it still needs to be sent to a lab. So other residents not part of the program can access that information. And we did think about putting a little bit of a cost to it, but last year we managed to get all our funding, so we didn't have to do that.
So of the $3,600 approximately, how does it break down between the soil testing versus these seminars? Is that kind of what you're giving?
Yeah, workshops.
Okay. So how does that break down?
I don't have my Excel spreadsheet in front of me, but I think it's about at least 60% for the soil testing fees and 40% for the education.
All righty, thank you. Any other
you.
questions? Councillor Zelka, please.
Thank you, Chair. A very interesting project. Will you be insisting on each of these participants to be signing a privacy waiver?
They already have.
They already have?
Yes.
So making sure that, if something bad or something good was found, regardless, it'll be published?
Yep, that's right. And because there's no personal information or addresses, they've given Royal Roads and ourselves a permission to test it. And Royal Roads were very lucky to have the support of their legal department, so they're actually handling all the disclaimers. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Free legal advice doesn't come usually free. So this will be taking place over the summer or throughout the fall? How does this work?
It's sort of ongoing throughout the year because recruitment starts in January, February. Actual testing is April 1st to June 1st. And then the students, they spend the summer basically looking at the soil samples and interpreting them. And then the residents get all the information and we start booking the workshops in September.
Great. And this includes our own community gardens as well, you said, right? Yes, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I'd move this to estimates.
Okay. I just had one other question. The Saanich project you're saying.
Yes.
How much is that compared to ours?
It's a little bit more because it's a bigger municipality. So I think there's about 30% more participants from Saanich just because it's so spread out. And I think I asked for, about 5,000, if I'm
And have
correctly
they
thinking.
given you any idea whether or not they're going to go with that
I'm
program?
doing the same thing tomorrow night
Oh, I
at 7
see.
p.m.
And, will the seminars just be restricted to Oak Bay residents? Or any first come, first serve right
They're
across
going
the
to
region?
be, depending on the interest in where we can book, it'll be first offered to the participants themselves and then opened up to the general public.
And how many spots do you have total?
If we have to hold it at our center, fire regulation is 20. But if we can rent a community hall, which is also some of the other funders, that's where that money will go, then it could be up to 200 people. So
Okay.
what we're capable of.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other discussion? Call the question, all in favor? Opposed? Not opposed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It'll go to the next
Great.
level. Thank you. Well, we've run out of grant requests. Steve, do you have any requests? You're okay? All right, just in case. And you'd be out of order because we haven't gotten any paperwork from you. No correspondence under 22. 23, there's new business. Any new business? Okay, a report from the CRD. I'm going to give you a little quick heads up. You might have seen in the newspaper that the CRD members couldn't agree on the regional growth strategy. And so there was a discussion as to what would happen next. And it might end up in arbitration, but the first request has been to the minister to ask for non-binding mediation. And that the minister was written to on the 23rd of February. And the motion was that the CRD board write to the minister and include the director of the Juan de Fuca electoral area in the discussion in a way that allows his participation in the process as equal and possible given the legislation, and that in essence that the minister start a process which will allow us to get to agreement. Now, that process probably wouldn't be terribly expensive, but if it doesn't work there, and there's no indication that it's really mediatable, that's a personal view, it could go to arbitration, which could get very significantly expensive. More so, however, to the objectors. And we are not an objector, so we would not bear the brunt of the cost. However, because CRD is a party to that arbitration, we will indirectly bear a smaller cost because we're of our membership in the CRD, because they will have to pay a piece too. So in the past, these mediations or arbitrations can get very expensive, and we'll just have to wait and see what the minister does. But probably nothing until after May 9th, I would think. But I don't know, although, Ms. Koning, do you know if there's a time frame of when he has to reply?
No, Your Worship, I don't, but I did learn on Friday that we will have an opportunity if we want to sit as a intervener, I think is the term, so we can be sort of an observer through the process.
Okay, and no doubt that invitation will also tell us how much that would cost, because it could be runaway costs if we have to hire a lawyer, we have to engage, anyways. So we'll take it one step at a time. I just wanted to alert you to that as a potential additional cost in this year. Other than that, you also saw that the CRD has agreed to sign the funding agreements for the sewage treatment plant, and they hope to break ground next month once all their permits are in place. Esquimal's on board with the changes in their bylaws as Victoria, so it's just now starting to move ahead to the greater design and permitting stage. So that's all I have to report on that. It's a lot of money that will be expended on that. So the other, I'm going to request that we were going to do this last time, but I think we ran out of time, and that is the BC Mayor's Caucus, just to say a few words about that. And I know Councillor Braithwaite was instrumental in making it a success as a result of organizing it so professionally. And so I don't know if you wanted to talk a little bit about the kind of things that went on and how things went.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, we had mayors from all over British Columbia attend. I think we had 65 mayors from different municipalities, townships, etc. And it was a great event. It was wonderful to see mayors from not only small municipalities but big municipalities as well, and how they mix together. And we spent a great day we had a great reception with MLAs and the UBCM executive on the Wednesday night, and then on the Thursday we had meetings all day where there was a lot of discussion. We had a panel, a provincial panel of a representative from each different party in the panel, and the mayors were able to ask questions and basically let the provincial panel know what subjects were really foremost on their municipalities' agendas for the upcoming election. And so I think that was time really well spent. It was moderated by Les Lane. And then in the afternoon, there was just a great group discussion from a survey that had gone out prior. We had some great communication people helping us with this caucus, and it was good roundtable discussions. And I think that you'll be sending a report out to the mayors, all of the mayors within British Columbia. And then on the Friday morning, we were lucky enough to be invited by the Navy to go to the base and tour a frigate, which was very interesting. And then the center where they do all of the, it's called the Operations Center, I think, yeah, where they do all of the work on all of the ships and where they refit everything. And they had a great laser, it's called a laser something. What is it? I don't know. Anyhow, they made this great, it's a laser cutter. That's what it is. It's a laser cutter. And they made a wonderful little takeaway for the mayors to take as well. And I think that all the mayors had a great time. And yeah.
We got very positive feedback. And there was a surprising amount of consensus in the, not only during the discussions, but in the lead-up survey about the kinds of concerns that mayors have. And the number one on the list is public infrastructure. And that's small, large, north, south. And also the need to look at different funding models for municipalities. As you know, we are restricted to collecting most of our income from property taxes, whereas most other advanced countries have moved away from that a regressive tax. But unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be on the agenda. At least during this election, as to looking at new ways of funding municipalities in a sustainable way. Because as we sometimes find, it's very difficult to make ends meet when you just have property tax options. So there were a lot of good discussions and ideas that come from there, and we'll see what happens between now and the election, how many of these items get discussed. I will continue my role as chair until UBCM in September. And it is my intention between now and the election to raise some of these issues during the election to ensure they're discussed. One of the things we didn't do, we didn't come to any consensus purposely to which direction we wanted this thing to go. We wanted a healthy debate on the major issues, which included, by the way, funding for emergency services, police and fire, which is a big issue for municipalities throughout British Columbia. And particularly in the fire department. So, yeah, very successful, very positive feedback, and some people are even lobbying to have it as the permanent home of the spring of the spring meeting. There's usually 2 meetings, one in spring, and then at UBCM. So
I think then the only other thing would be that we were fortunate enough to have the Lieutenant Governor attend our banquet, and it was great for mayors across British Columbia to be able to have a chance to speak with her, and I think she really enjoyed it.
That was a real honor for us here in Oak Bay to have her visit and participate and give a short speech in the banquet. At the same time, we also had Quirks and Quarks Bob McDonald, who gave just a fascinating talk on climate change, and it's real. He didn't say get used to it, but essentially he said we have to adapt and mitigate, and there's no waiting. So we can only figure out a way to get him down to the States, and with that message, we might be in better shape, but that's political
decision beyond my pay grade. So with that, and we're grateful, we had some volunteers that helped us out, and we had some sponsors that helped out, and we had some fascinating information about the high tech that's coming to our community by way of the fiber optics that's now being distributed throughout Oak Bay by TELUS. And they, in fact, they will have a fiber optic house. I think they're going to try to bring to Oak Bay sometime over the summer. It's a kind of a large trailer which shows you what the future is like. So, anyway.
I think the last thing would be, we also had a great presentation about BC 211, which is a service that's coming to all of British Columbia soon. So be on the lookout for that.
Yep. All right, that ends the reports. Anyone have any other reports? Yes, Councillor Kirby, please.
I'm just sort of sad that the member from the Community Association isn't here to hear this, but hopefully he'll hear online that I just wanted to pass on how excellent the session was on Saturday that the Community Association hosted with 3 speakers talking about the shoreline and the impacts of climate change. No, this wasn't the eelgrass. The eelgrass was back in February. This was a follow-up regarding just the health of the shoreline and the Green Shores program. So we had Jody Watson from the CRD come and give a really extensive explanation of what the Green Shores program is, and I've brought back material for all of council, which is in the other room, and just to raise awareness about jurisdiction between the province, the federal government, and ourselves, as well as the CRD and the Lekwungen people, the Songhees and Esquimalt, how the responsibility for our shorelines falls on so many different levels of government and different organizations. I think there's 17, and so it's very complicated and requires a lot of cooperation and communication. But it was an excellent presentation, and also Jacques Sirois, who is apparently an internationally renowned scientist. I didn't realize that, but a very passionate Oak Bay community member, and who raised a lot of excellent points and suggestions and ideas and inspiration for what we can do. But again, it's that same issue of funding and how do we tackle the adaptation for climate change, particularly with a lot of built infrastructure like the prevention of erosion with seawalls, which Jody explained is no longer the way it's done. So it was really interesting, and I would encourage everybody to go visit the Green Shores website and learn more about it, because it is in our OCP.
Thank you very much. Councillor Salk, I see your hand. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Chair. Very briefly, big thanks to the Heritage Commission and Foundation for their excellent talk a few days ago on how to adapt our built infrastructure and with renovation and restoration. They brought some fabulous ideas forward. I also wanted to point out that the Monterey Middle School market will take place Wednesday, March 15th from 5 to 7 p.m. Young entrepreneurs, I'm sure they'll be breaking lots of bylaws, but it'll be on school property, so it's okay. Thank you.
All right. If it's in the evening, our enforcement staff are not working in any event. So, all right. So thank you very much, and thanks everybody for attending. And yes, moved and seconded. Discussion, all in favor, opposed, not opposed. Thank you very much for staying with us. If you think we finished early tonight, we started at 5 o'clock, some of us. Yeah. There you go. Thanks for coming. No, not those people.